This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Any questions, guys, before I can get started? You want any questions? Anything that you all tried? Any issues? Any questions as such? Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Okay. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Yes, it is mandatory. Mhm. That's right, but how do you tell your array how many times to execute? Or how do you tell your loop how many times to execute? Mm. How many times you need to execute? Zero, one, two, three times. Or less than names dot count or something like that. The condition on how many times you need to, let's say, run, it depends upon that less than, greater than, and etc. that you're giving inside that particular loop out there. Yes, anyone, any more questions here? Okay, so let's start with three basic commands. Uh, I want to create something like this. I want a resource group. I want a storage account inside that particular resource group, and I want a container inside this particular storage account. Three things. Let's get started. So I want a container inside this out. So this is what I asked you to do, is that can I try going ahead and creating a container out here? So let's see. Very firstly, okay, dismiss this. Very firstly, how do I create a story? How do I create a resource group? Hmm. Okay, you need to log into the account, but I'm already logged in, so I am good with that.
New
And
resource
how do you
group
create
command.
New hyphen resource group.
hyphen
New hyphen
hyphen is it
HDC
a
group.
resource group hyphen the name, and I'll give something like demo rgps partial hyphen the location. I'll give something like ECS2. So I go and give this something known as ECS2 and etc. And again, I don't want to pass my names directly. Don't want to hard code it. So I introduce, before I go into resource group creation, I introduce parameterization or parameters. Say RG name is equal to demo RG PS. I'll say dollar location is equal to East US 2. And instead of going here, I'll remove this RG name. I'll remove this location. Again, don't need quotations out here since I'm any which ways passing it in quotes. Dollar location. So this is the resource group creation. How do you create a storage account then? Instead of, let's say, okay, instead of storage account. So I would say new hyphen is its storage account, hyphen the resource group name, and whatever the resource group name that I'm creating, I want to create my storage account in the same thing. So I'll say dollar RG name, the name of the storage account. Again, I'll say just dollar storage name, and I'll give a name here. I'll say demo PS storage ABC 000, something like this. So here, in place of, let's say, name, I'll say it is dollar storage name hyphen. I'll say SKU name. Again, SKU name can also be, let's say, a parameter. Standard underscore LRS. This is how I need to pass it. So I'll say hyphen SKU name. I'll say standard, or I'll say SKU name out here. I'll say location. I'll say dollar location, and let's see what else that I can pass. Kind access tier by default, kind is going to be a storage v2. By default, access tier is going to be something like hot, so I don't have to, let's say, change this out. So this is the logic for creating a storage account. What if I want to create a container? What is the command that I need to use to create a container? Did anyone try this out on how to create a storage container? Let's do that. Let's say new hyphen az container. Let's see container. So it's in container group image, and etc. We did not say what container is it, right? Container can mean a lot of things, but what if I say storage container, storage account container, new hyphen az storage account container hyphen the name of the container. So I'll say container name is equal to this container out here. I'll say container name hyphen there is something called permissions. Now when you create a container, what all do you pass? Name, and do you pass anything while creating a container on the Azure portal? Access tiers or access levels, which is private, blob, and container. Same thing. It's telling blob container of an unknown. So blob is blob access level. Container is container access level. Of an unknown or private. Of an unknown, both are private. So you can put it as off, putting it as in a private access level. And now I have a logic to go and create a resource group, create a storage account, and then inside that particular storage account, create a container inside that particular storage account out here. So let's do one thing. Let's save this out. I'll say storage account container. Mhm. We need to assign the storage account also. Good question. So I'll say hyphen storage account. Let's see. But I'm not getting any parameter to assign the storage account. There's no parameter to give the storage account name. You cannot give the storage account name. Very simple. Mhm. Inside a storage account. Correct. Mhm. Correct. Any storage account name or container where it'll be, we'll see. We'll execute it and see how it, let's say, really works out. But good question though. Good point and good question though. Let's see that. So I have the resource group name, location, storage name. I have SKU, then I have the container name, and the first line is doing a new hyphen AZ resource group. Second line is doing, let's say, new hyphen AZ storage account. Third line is doing new hyphen AZ storage container. I'll execute this out, and this is going to take that particular script. And firstly, it went ahead, created a resource group, and after the resource group, now again it's waiting there. You don't know what the script is doing. That's the reason you do a lot of write host statements, telling write host starting the creation of storage account, done with the storage account creation, starting the creation of container, done with the container creation, something like that. So now it's going ahead, trying to do, or it's, I know that it's trying to create a storage account, because right now after the resource group is done, the next thing it has to go to is the storage account. So it went into the storage account, and then it went here into the container creation, and then it failed. It said could not get the storage context. Please pass the storage account context as, or set the current storage account context out here. Let's understand a couple of things with this command again. New hyphen easy storage container. Let's go into the documentation. Paste this in, and in Google, if I just do a documentation out here, I'm going to get a entire documentation on how to go ahead and create a container using, let's say, the PowerShell modules. Now it's telling these are the accepted parameters when new hyphen easy storage container let's say, goes ahead and takes it something known as name, permission. These are two things that I passed. Very importantly, something called as a context, and that's what my command is telling me right now. Is that it's telling could not get the storage context. Please pass in the storage context or set the current storage context out here, because the thing here it is asking is that it's telling, you know what, I don't understand which storage account you want to create this in. Or again, second thing is that it's telling if you want to create a container not within the Azure portal, but from an external tool like, let's say, Microsoft Storage Explorer or PowerShell or ARM templates or something like that, I need to understand a couple of things like what is a connection string, what is the access keys, no, what kind of an authorization that I need to do, or what kind of an authorization that I need to go for which the answer is something called as context. Let's see that. Now, in order to get a particular storage account, now I have a storage account that got created. Now, this one, sorry, let me refresh the screen. I have a storage account that got created. I just want PowerShell to return the name of the storage account. What do I need to do? Write host. uh Read host. What does read host do?
Get host.
No, I want to get the name, or I want to get the details of the storage account that I created.
Get storage
Get host.
account.
Get
Get
hyphen,
AZ.
exactly.
Get
Get
hyphen AZ
hyphen
storage account.
easy storage account, right? Hyphen the resource group name in which the storage account was created, which is nothing but dollar $rg name, hyphen the name of the storage account that I have, which is dollar storage name. Right? And if I go ahead execute this out, so it is now going ahead and getting the details of the storage account that is there in my Azure portal. And let's see what does it return back for me, and let's see how can I go from there. So this is going to give me details like what is the name of the storage account, what is the resource group of the storage account, what is the primary location, what is the SKU name, what is the kind, what is the access tier, and etc. Let's say out of this I only want the storage account name. So what do I do? Out of this entire command, I only want this command to return the storage account name. How do I, get that?
Assign one parameter.
Okay. Yes, that's what it's coming. What are all the parameters that is there? But I only want to get the name. $I and no, I only want to get the name out here. Mhm.
Where object, where object.
Where object, you can do a where object, or very simply you can do one thing. You can say dollar
You can
details,
create one more, yeah, one more and assign that value to that.
assign that value, meaning you say dollar details, and you
Then
can do one
details
thing,
dot storage account name.
details dot storage account name. So if I just yes execute this out, all the details of the storage account like the name, resource group name, location, etc. are stored in the dollar details. If I say dollar details, all these details are coming up. If I say dollar details dot storage account name, it will return the storage account name. If I say dollar details dot primary location, it will give me something called as ECS2. Now there are a few hidden properties inside this one. The command doesn't give you all the properties back. There are a few things that are hidden. For example, if I do a dollar details dot context, there is something called context. I'll say enter. Do you see what it is now giving me? URLs. Scroll down. It's also giving what? Connection string. This is what the new -AG storage account is expecting. I need the context of the storage account what you are creating. It's not just the name, but it is the URL of the storage account. It's also the connection strings of the storage account so that I can use all these things and then go ahead and create a container for you. So what I can do is if I come back into my PowerShell, I'll introduce a new value called $context. I'll say $context is equal to $details dot context. So whatever is in that particular context value, which is nothing but this one, which is a connection strings, which is the endpoints and everything, I'll store it inside this particular $context. So whatever I'm getting, I'm storing it inside the $context out here. And what I'll do is that in this command, wherein I'm creating the storage container, which is new -az storage container -name -permission, I'll give one more hyphen here and I'll say context. And I'll say $context out here. And if I now execute this out, not giving me any error. It's not asking for the storage account name because the context already has the storage account name, the storage account endpoint, the storage account connection strings, where it has to create and etc. So now if I look into this one, test container got created. Now you have something known as a test container which got created right now as such. Yes, any questions here on what did I do out here as such? Anyone, any questions here on what did we pass, how did we pass? Any questions, any confusion still here? Any confusion, guys? Anyone, anything that you do not follow? Are we good? Yes? No? Shall I move forward?
Yes,
Are
sir.
we good? Are there no questions on what
Yeah.
did we do here? So we passed parameters. We said we create a storage account. We said we created a resource group. We said we created a storage account. After creating that, I am getting the details of the storage account that is already created. And from the details, I'm getting one specific property called context, storing it inside a variable called $context, using that variable in my next command. If I don't do that, the container creation will fail. It will simply tell that, you know what, I cannot get the context. I don't understand where I need to create this. Where is your storage account? Where is that resource group and etc. Where is the connection strings and etc. It will simply fail. And as a reason, I need to pass something called as a context block additionally to my, let's say, commandlet out here as such. Mhm. Okay. If you skip that, can you come again? So, for example, if I Mhm. This line is it? Okay. Okay. Why will it take? How will it take? Mhm. Okay. Since we are mentioning, where did you mention the storage account? Line number 12. Where did you mention the storage account again? So where are you mentioning the storage account name? Where exactly? Correct. But are you passing it to the line 615? How does this line know that what is your storage account? As you said, there can be multiple storage accounts, right? So how will this know which storage account to be created in? Which is the reason Why you would need a context? Telling which storage account that I want to really create this in. Telling which storage account that I need to really create this in. Not only that, but also giving things like the connection string of a particular storage account or the authorization for a particular storage account out here. And that's how you end up creating, let's say, your containers, your storage account, your resource groups, and all these things. Yes, any questions? Anyone? Any questions still here?
So,
Good, please.
in place of context, if you place storage account name, paste dollar
Mhm.
details, and what will be the output?
In place of context, if I
We have
place the
saved
storage account, mhm.
in dollar details. We have saved the storage account name, right? So, in place of hyphen context, hyphen
Mhm.
storage account names, paste dollar details.
Okay, just a second. So, in place of context, you want to place details, something like
Yeah,
this.
dollar details, and in place of hyphen context, hyphen storage account,
Okay, hyphen
storage
storage
account
account.
name,
Okay, hyphen
storage
storage
account
account name.
name.
Okay, hyphen storage
Yeah.
account name. Is there a storage account name there? When I say a hyphen storage, do
No,
you see a storage account name? Which means that this
no,
particular
no.
module doesn't really support anywhere something known as a storage account name. These are the only accepted parameters. Now, when you're dealing with PowerShell, you're dealing with a module called AZ storage. This AZ storage is, again, if I want to go inside the development, there is something called as a class. It's a .NET class. And in this particular .NET class, you can only have these particular parameters which are accepted. So we cannot go ahead and pass that hyphen storage account name, and which is the reason why I am passing the entire context value out here. Instead of me passing the storage account name, I'm passing the context so that it can understand where to create and how to create this.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions till here? Any questions with the script till here? Okay. What happens if I re-execute it? What do you think will happen if I re-execute the same script? Sorry? Yes. Won't. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't take. So what will happen? What should happen? Do you think? It should show error. Let's see that. Firstly, yeah, it's asking provided resource group already exists. Are you sure you want to update it? I'll say yes. Okay. Let's see what it's telling you right now. For resource group, it did not throw any error. It was okay. What is it throwing here? A name, something
storage account.
is taken, is already taken. Which command is throwing the error, you think? Which command is, let's say, throwing this particular error?
New hyphen
Let's say
AZ
new
storage
hyphen
account.
is storage account. This is here. This is the command which is throwing, let's
Because
say, your, let's say, error.
because
New hyphen
Azure
is
account
storage
is
account.
global storage account.
Yes, it should be globally unique. It said this account is already there. I cannot again create this. I'll fail. Container already exists. New hyphen AZ storage container is again throwing this error. Now, why do I say we need a lot of right host statement out here? Is this? See, if I am able to do this, okay, I'll say right host starting the RG creation. If I can separate it with a color, yellow, and I'll say right host wherever I'm creating it, I'll say starting the storage account creation. I'll say foreground color something like blue or something like this, and set right host starting container creation, and I can put a different color out here like green. Okay, now execute this out. It's saying okay, starting RG creation, and then it says starting storage account creation then failed, starting container creation then failed. So I understand that okay fine, the failure is coming here after this write host statement. So I can search for this write host statement in my script. I'll say okay fine, this is where I have written a write host telling starting the storage account creation. After this it is failing, which means this is the command where it is now failing out here. Now if I scroll down, it's saying get something like this. It's saying okay fine, this is fine. After that, so these two commands successfully went through, there is no issue here. After that, again after this write host, I have a failure, which means that these are the two things that I need to address: new hyphen az storage container and new hyphen az storage account. My script is not reusable right now. My script is static. It's very static in nature. It is not reusable right now. So again, in place of RG name, instead of giving the RG name, I say read hyphen host and say please enter RG name. I can give this. Can I? That's fine. But you are getting a pop-up for resource group. When you get the pop-up, when you try to run this script using a DevOps practice, which we will later do in the classes, DevOps will not support user interaction, which means you cannot go into the DevOps portal and say yes, no, or something. It will fail. It will simply say, you know what, I'm getting a pop-up. I cannot, let's say, take this. I'll fail. Reason being, I also need to take care of that. Now, when you're using PowerShell, it's good enough. But later at point of time, that pop-up will, kind of break your script. It will fail there. So that's the reason I'm telling you, okay, fine, please enter the RG name out here, right in the very starting. Location, I'm okay to go ahead and create it in ECS2. You can add, optionally, you can say that the user, asking the user to go ahead and create this, let's say, or pass the location. I'll say read host, please enter the storage account name. This is okay. LRS, I'll say read host, please enter the container name. So I have three different things right now. A couple of things hard coded, like for example, standard LRS and ECS2. I'm okay with that. Now, before I am creating, let's separate our script. Okay, let's break our script into smaller pieces. We'll separate the resource group creation, storage account creation,